Welcome back to Tailgate Game Day on this Labor Day weekend, and we've got a big show lined up for you. Tony Herman's going to be joining me, and we're going to go over last week's game. We're going to talk about Camdenton Lakers, Eldon Mustangs, the For Sales Tigers, and the School of the Osage Indians. All those four games, we're going to look around the league, see what happened there in those games, kind of get some insight behind what happened with the Osage Indians and their loss. The other three teams, they won. And then we're going to be talking to some coaches around the area. Maddie Scrivener, she's the softball coach of Eldon. We'll be talking with her. And Kaylee Lyons, the volleyball coach of Eldon as well. Then we're going to scoot on down the road to Camdenton, talk to Tyler Dinsdale. He's the softball coach of the Lakers. And then Austin Walker with the Lady Lakers volleyball team. We've got three player profiles lined up for you tonight. We've got Caden Van Sandy. She's with the softball team of the Lady Lakers. And Zoe Lockhart, she's also with the softball team. And then we're going to scoot on over to the volleyball team of the Lady Lakers and talk to Bella Asante and with that program. Then Rick Hasty will be joining us with our complete college football preview on this Labor Day weekend, week number 1 of college football. Then we'll be back to wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining us on Tailgate Game Day. Well, hello again, everybody. This is Tailgate Game Day. Guy Wayman along with Tony Herman. How you doing, Tony?
Doing well. It's been a great week here at Lake of the Ozarks, especially with the start of high school football.
Yes, we already completed week number 1. We're getting ready for week number 2. All 4 teams played last week, and 3 of the
Osage travels to Jeff City, play what is now we know a very good Jays team. Strong line, strong quarterback, a lot of speed as well. Osage comes out the loser in that game, 40-3.
You know, and there are things that Osage will that they lost a lot of seniors in. So that experience on the field, people take that for granted, but that's not to be taken for granted because those seniors knew what was happening on the field, and now it's time for the underclassmen to rise up.
You know, I think you're exactly right. Graduation did hit the Osage Indians very hard this season. They graduated Connor Bond last year at quarterback. Maverick Trusty comes in, and he starts his first game of the season as the man for the Osage Indians. Coach Jolly talked about being a little more balanced in his attack this year, but it didn't happen last week as the Osage Indians stuck to the run game, I would think 95% of the time on the offensive side. Also, some big losses in the backfield for the Osage Indians as they graduated several runners. And then I think we really saw the most in the line play.
Yes.
As Jeff City pretty much dominated the line on both sides of the football.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because the games a lot of times are won and lost on the line.
I think more than what people like you and I talk about. I think those are the guys that make the holes. Those are the guys that get in there and do the hard work. And last week it showed that School of the Osage graduation had hit very difficult on that Osage Indian offensive line.
You know, I go back to the Hall of Fame, and they just inducted the last class of the Hall of Fame, and Joe Thomas. He was number 73. He played that left tackle on the Browns, and that was an unsung hero, but that's the guy who protects that quarterback, and that's one of those linemen, spent 10 years with one team, and that helped to prove what they needed in that Cleveland Browns. Well, now we're talking about Osage, and now they've got to have some guys rise up. They need that center and all the other linemen.
They certainly do on both sides of the football.
Yep.
On the defensive side, though, Guy, I thought the defensive line played well. And one thing that we saw last year that we have not seen in this first game is Osage giving up those big plays. They basically came out in the second half and played the Jeff City Jays even.
You know, you mentioned that during our broadcast on Friday night, the big plays, and we saw that last year, whether it was a big pass play or a big running play. Now, we look back at some of the stats, and Jeff City, not a single yard in passing, but close to 500 yards in rushing, and they did it all on the ground.
They did it all in the ground. All of it. I mean, even at this level, that is shocking when a quarterback does not throw or complete a pass in a high school football game in the modern era that we have today. But they were running off tackle, they were running off guard, and they were having a lot of success with that. And when they got inside the red zone, that line took over, and they just pushed School of the Osage back.
Now, let's look at some of the other games. Versailles had a really tough time last year, and they, I think they won like one game. They came out of the gate this week, and they were saying, we're going to win some games this year.
You know, that's a program that you've seen in the last couple of years that has struggled when they get on the football field. Not last week in week one. They had a great start to their season.
Yeah, they sure did. Now let's look at Eldon. Eldon started off really hot last year, won the first three, and then lost the rest. Well, Eldon came out, and then they were attacking.
You know, I think we often talk about how they went on that losing skid at the second half of their season. But I think, Guy, if you take all 10 of those teams and put them in a bag, shake them up, and you play them in a different order, I think Eldon's record is probably the same. So it just so happens that the first couple of games were games that they were very winnable for the Mustangs, and the other ones, the losses seem to become more difficult every week.
And then we had Camdenton, and Rolla was at the visiting team in the Camdenton game. Camdenton, in the first half, we were following the scores as we were calling the game over with the Osage game. And at halftime, they looked fairly even, but then after that, Camdenton says, we're pouring it on, and then they became the big winner in that game.
Yeah, great to see Par Pitts get his first win as the Lakers head coach. He's had a lot of success in a couple of different programs. Wanted to come back home, and home is the Camdenton Lakers. He came in as the offensive coordinator, stayed in that role for several years. Now he is the man for the Lakers.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about this upcoming Moberly game after we kind of visit with some of the coaches around the area. We've got the coaches from Eldon with their softball and volleyball teams, and then we're going to talk with the coaches from Camdenton in softball and volleyball. Then we have a couple player profiles. We've got a couple gals from softball and one from volleyball. And then we'll come on back. Then we'll talk about Moberly because you've talked to the coach, haven't you?
Absolutely. Head coach Cody McDowell starts his 9th year with the Moberly Spartans.
Wow. So that should be a good game. We come up on Friday, huh?
It's going to be a great game.
All right. Tony Herman along with Guy Wayman here. And I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break and we'll be back with the coaches. We're here with the Coach's Corner, Coach Shannon Jolly of the Osage Indians. How you doing, Coach?
It's good today. We've had a pretty good week. Kind of excited about week 2.
I'll tell you what, Friday night was tough. The Jays, they were a good club, and you learned a lot from last Friday night.
Yeah, I think looking into that, I mean, we knew that we were going to be overmatched a little bit. We were hoping a few things could go our way that unfortunately didn't. But at the same time, I've been pretty open about it. I just thought our effort lacked. And I think with young players, sometimes having the experience shows more times than other. And I think Friday night, our lack of experience kind of showed in us of how to handle the situation and maybe rise to the occasion.
You know, last week when we talked, you had mentioned that the size, and you said that they're bigger up front than you were, and that kind of manifested itself in the line play of both clubs.
Yeah, I mean, we knew they were big, and that's when you try to take your guys and effort comes into part, and being resilient. And like I said, they had a great game plan. It's exactly what I would have done against us, was run right up the middle and impose your will on the inside, and that's what they did. And there's wasn't much we could do about it at that time. But like I said, we didn't help ourselves on both sides of the ball. So part of that comes on us.
Nearly 500 yards rushing for them, 0 yards passing.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. I wouldn't have passed the ball either if I was them. So,
because that's their strength as
well.
well.
And it is, but when you don't need to,
yeah,
you run the ball and the clock runs, and then you get out of a game that's lopsided, and you come home healthy, and then you move on. So, it's exactly how it's supposed to work.
All right, coming home healthy. Are you healthy?
Yeah, we're healthy. I mean, we've got still got Caden Cochran banged up, who's our sophomore guard that was going to start for us. But other than that, I don't think we it wasn't a real physical football game Friday night, so it wasn't really we were at a high risk of getting anybody injured.
Okay, quarterback position with Trusty.
Yeah, no, I mean, he showed a lot of poise in there and missed the mark a couple times on some bigger plays, but that's going to be, again, this is other than his freshman football career last year. It's his first game, first varsity action, and he'll continue to grow. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and talking about growing, being a sophomore and everything, there is room for growth, and so he will be building on everything that he's learning this year.
Yeah, everything he puts in the bank right now is a deposit.
Yep.
And then, like I said, sometimes you got to build those deposits up before you can get any withdrawals from it, and we saw that Friday night. But he's had a good week of practice. He's going to continue to get better. I mean, there's nothing else to say about him. He's worked his butt off to get there, and I think there's not a moment on the field that he's not trying to get coached up.
Okay, what are you doing to look forward here going into Moberly? I mean, with Moberly coming here.
Well, continue to do what we do, but we match up a little bit better with Moberly. I mean, they don't have a 300 Division I guard, so it changes things a little bit, but we still got to play a lot better than we did last week, and Moberly's a really good football team.
Okay, so defensive-wise, what are you looking at Moberly that you've got to stop?
Well, their quarterback, they have a really quarterback-driven offense. I mean, he does some good stuff, and he's got the opportunities to run in their offense, and anytime you have a dual-threat quarterback, puts a lot of stress on the defense.
Okay, anything else that you want to share about this game, basically coming up tonight?
Now, just our first home game, and we're excited about people being out and continuing to support our kids. We've got a fantastic group of young men on our team this year. As the season goes along, they're going to get better, but it's going to be a growing process. But they're fun kids to be around, fun kids to watch.
Okay, next man up. We did talk about it last week, just a couple of minutes this week. Let's talk about it. How's it looking for this year?
It's good. It's we're just grouping that sophomore group up and inviting those guys to come in for some supplemental leadership stuff on Wednesdays. And Coach Hess is our new defensive coordinator also, and he started an FCA function on Wednesdays after practice, and I know we've got about 15 kids that showed up for that last night. So just making sure we're providing our kids with all the tools necessary, not just the things on the field but off the field.
All right, appreciate the time, Coach. We'll catch you again next Thursday.
at the setters,
Standing senior then.
that's the goal for her to stick in the position. She played outside on JV last year, so her switching to this position is completely new, but she's done really well so far.
All right. Last year's record was?
18-14-2, I think.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, you did fairly well last year, and the year before, which was your first year, you did fairly well as again. So I'm thinking this year is really you're going to be building on that growth.
I hope so. I mean, we play a very tough schedule. We start tomorrow with Battle, who's a 5A school, and then we end our season at the Ozark tournament, which is 5A and 4A schools that are ranked in the state from them, like all year round. So we have a very tough schedule. So
Well, this area is blessed with good volleyball teams because you're talking Stover, Max Creek, you're talking Versailles. I don't think Tuscumbia has one, do they?
I don't know. We don't play them. I'm not sure if they have a volleyball team or not.
And then not to mention Camdenton and Osage Beach, or School of the Osage. And so it's just, we're kind of blessed. And to have these gals practicing and playing, it's good to see competition, not just with the boys in football, but with girls sports. I have a daughter, so that's why it's important.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not from this area. When I first took the job, I didn't really know anybody being from Springfield. I knew Camdenton and like Lebanon in that area, and I knew Blair Oaks from when I was coaching at West Plains, but
And Blair Oaks is really tough.
yes, they are. They're a very good program and a tough team to play. And we play them very early in the season, so it's kind of nice to see them at the beginning and then hopefully see them at the end.
Well, we're going to follow you all through the season, so this is not going to be the first time we're going to meet. And so we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thank you for coming.
We're here with Maddie Scrivener, and she is the head coach of the Eldon softball team. How you doing, Maddie?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, the girls are working out. It's had a fantastic weekend.
Yes, we were supposed to play Moberly this Saturday, but it did get canceled, so we were pretty bummed about that.
Okay, how's the team shaping up this year? Did you lose many seniors last year, or what's it like this year?
We only lost 2 seniors, so we have 2 seniors this year that we'll lose at the end of this season, but we have a lot of incoming freshmen, and our team's pretty young.
Okay, pitching, who should we be looking at this season?
Mackenzie Ward and Chloe Holder. Those will be our 2 starting pitchers.
Okay, and then catcher?
Hannah Beanland and Ryland Stark. They both go back and forth with starting catching for us.
All right, in the infield, the first base who plays that always gets third base has to make the long throw.
Yeah, yes. Our is Ashlyn Hill. She is a returner. And then our third baseman, we are going back and forth right now, but we have one girl who's worked pretty hard this season so far, who we're looking at starting tomorrow.
What's your expectations this year?
We expect for our girls to have fun and work hard.
All right. Any possible D1 commits, or we maybe still are years away from that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure right now.
So mind that you're thinking maybe.
Possibly. They work pretty hard, so they'll go get it if they want it.
Okay. And is it easy to find here? I did not find that the field was exactly that easy here in Eldon.
So our softball field is actually behind both of our, not located at our high school, so is right behind our upper elementary and south elementary buildings.
Well, thanks for giving us some of your time. I'll let you go back to coaching the kids, and good luck this year.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, now let's go to the other side of the lake with Camdenton. We've got Tyler Dinsdale, and they've got a great softball team, and they've won the first 5 games so far of the season. And so working with Austin Walker, she's the coach of the volleyball team. And then we've got some player profiles. We've got Zoe Lockhart and Caden Van Sandy, and their softball with Camdenton. Ella Asante, and she's with the volleyball team of Camdenton. Let's go there now. We're here with Coach Tyler of the softball team of Camdenton High School. How you doing today, Coach?
We're doing great.
Came in this morning and we were getting ready to talk about what was going on with the season, and you said you're starting off great.
Yeah, we started off, we're 5-0 right now. Won the Mooresville tournament over the weekend. Beat some Class 5 teams, Republic and Willard, Lebanon, and then beat Carthage on Monday. So we've been playing pretty well right now.
It looks like this season is starting like the last season ended, because you were red hot last year.
Yeah, and us coaches kind of talked about that. I feel like we're 2 or 3 weeks ahead of where we were last year. So that's good for us right now, especially because we didn't really know what we were going to get in the first tournament, especially because we didn't have our jamboree. So from seeing live pitching and getting out there, and the girls responded really well. So I feel like we are, like you said, kind of where we are, where we were at the end of the year last year, and they're playing really good softball. So.
And it's kind of a shortened season as well. It's not going to take us all the way to Thanksgiving, because you're going to end earlier than that. But the girls, they're saying, hey, let's make hay while we can.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, we'll be, I think we're in districts the second weekend in October, so we're pretty quick. I mean, if you think about it, it's less than a month and a half, and then the season's over. We'll have our 20th game by the end of next weekend, so we'll play quite a bit of softball within the next 2 weeks. So
Any standouts?
Yeah, right now we've had quite a few players, some girls that have kind of come up that we knew had potential, but really hadn't really had opportunity to come out and play. So Caden Von Sandy obviously is throwing really well. She threw against Willard and Republic back-to-back in the championship games. Anna Lucas has been throwing really well.